All right, hey everyone, welcome to a A4G production. Today I'm going to be I'm taking a break from the glass air. This is the holidays. I'm visiting my son, I have an opportunity of a project we did together a few years ago. And I started the project off talking about the Mazda Miata, and when he turned 16, about 7 years ago, I did not want him to be a mechanical victim, if you will, and I wanted to know about cars. And so we started out with a basic 1990 Miata, and it was fairly pristine condition. We had a 1.6 liter engine in it.
Factory defect.
With the factory defect. So the first engine had a problem with the crank?
Small nose, short nose crankshaft failure in the first year of the Miata.
Okay.
The main pulley falls off and shears the crank.
Okay, so we had a defect with the first engine, and we got this engine through my nephew, and this car. We got two cars and a drivetrain, Megasquirt computer, and a junkyard turbocharger with this car. So we also got a 1994 that we drive, and it is bone stock. And so this car kind of sum up a past. Had the original 1.6, then we had a 1.8 Japanese
1.6 pull out with turbocharger on it.
With a turbocharger, and we used stock exhaust. We ran a lot of boost. We didn't know how to make horsepower in the Megasquirt, probably because of our exhaust restriction. Fast forward, we got a 1.8 Japanese
1.8 liter, ran it naturally aspirated. I finally saved up the money for a ball bearing turbo. I learned a lot from Megasquirt, more than I should ever know, on EFI and turbocharging.
So in the pursuit of power, greed, and a young man, he royally has blown two engines on the 1.8 liter with the Garrett turbocharger. He started to get serious about it. We went up to a billet oil pump, and finally that engine was blown. Next to me on the interstate, fire, smoke, the whole nine. Pulled over. Sad day. This is a family car, and because we'd done so much together, the decision was made to do an LS swap. And we're going to talk about the LS swap in this car. I did this car approximately 2 years ago during the summer, about the time Taylor Ray was building his car. We followed a lot of schemas. Gleason, you used Flying Miata.
I used the V8 Roadster subframe. It's custom. Didn't want to have to cut into the firewall, so I called them on the phone, said, can we get the engine mounts moved farther forward? So we don't have to come to the firewall. They said sure thing, and no firewall modification needed.
So he did all the technical side of it, did the research online on how it was done. Meanwhile, Taylor Ray was putting his first car together. I got this one done in about 4 months at my home in Florida, where I'm building the glass air. And so we got this car, LS swap. We've been running successfully for about 2 years, and it's been a lot of fun. And in the process, what got away from us is he learned a lot about cars. He is not a mechanical victim, and he has a lot of technical know-how. I'm the craftsman of the labor under the car. So Glee, go ahead and raise the hood.
Here is...
So what is this engine out of again?
This is a 1999 C5 Corvette LS1. Bought it off eBay for $3,400 shipped, computer, pedal, everything, with only 32,000 miles on it.
So it's crate engine, 32,000, and this is how it looked coming out of the box. Very low mileage, very good price. And so we have the airbox cone filter underneath the bumper here, the nose. I think there's some guzzets in the corner of the engine bay. And if you look at this engine installation, it is cleaner, much cleaner than a turbocharged engine, or even especially the stock Miata engine. However, there is no air conditioning.
No power steering.
No power steering. This is a basic car. No ABS. It is seat of your pants driving. And I think what transmissions it made it to?
The transmission comes out of a 350Z, about the 2005 year.
Okay.
It's known by the CP009 in the car world for being notoriously strong and cheap.
Okay.
There is a kit that adapts it to a T56 bell housing, which you can use the factory GM clutch and flywheel on your LS engine.
Okay, so basically I helped put this together. He selected all the parts and had them mailed to me. He is in the military, and so am I. So we're men of meager means. So he bought all these parts over the course of months with his hard-earned money. and had them shipped to me. Even the car, after it was blown, we had it shipped across the United States, where we rebuilt this thing for the final time. Stopped monkeying around trying to force a 4-cylinder engine to be a 6-cylinder or a V8. And I know one of the hurdles we had to do was we have a throttle position type sensor foot pedal had to be put in there. You can't even tell. And one of my goals building this car is I wanted it to look stock. And when we started building this car, Gran Turismo came out. All the teenagers had fart can exhaust type systems, and they were after the look. I didn't want to have the look. I wanted to walk the walk before we just had the looks. Gleason, this is his taste with the stripes. I appreciate him. Not quite my style, but it does look good.
I wanted a like a retro race look of what I think the era of inspiration was. The 60s with the stripes and the number plates.
Awesome, awesome. So it's a real good selection. And I think one of the main hurdles we had to go through, and he'll show you, is like to get the 350Z mated up. We talked about the adapter plate and who made that. We have a big clutch in there. It's like a leg press to even operate it almost. Show them the stick shift on how we circumnavigated that real quick, because a lot of folks on his Instagram channel ask questions on how we got stuff done. And if you look in here carefully, there's a gooseneck welded on,
as well as the shifter itself kind of has some play and kind of rattles some vibration, so I got an elastic band
just to hold it into place.
Hold in place so it doesn't vibrate.
It's an effective solution, not necessarily elegant, but it does the job. So you can't really see Dape in there, but I goosenecked it to bring it forward about 4 inches to make it give the stock look and feel. Now, so we have an engine, we have a transmission that will hold up the power. What about the rear end, and where'd you get it?
So I originally got the rear end in the car because the Miata 6-speed transmission is incredibly low geared. It'll be turning about $5,000 at 60 with the stock rear end. So I got a rear end out of Cadillac CTS V. It's a 323 final drive, which is perfect with this transmission.
And as a parent, I don't mind necessarily a quick car. I don't like fast.
And so with this transmission on a, I think, 23-inch tire, the top, it doesn't even do 60 in second. So it is just short geared and a lot of fun. It'll blow the tires loose in any gear.
So you're running a Cadillac rear end. Now, you started out thinking it was a limited slip differential and the clutch was going out. Then you found out?
Correct. So I bought it off eBay with G80, which is the code for a limited slip. And so I thought the clutches were just bad. So I bought the clutches, pulled the diff out, pulled it apart. What do you know? It's an open diff. So I returned the clutches. $100 later, got it welded, and it has been the most fun ever since.
Awesome. So what are the drawbacks with having a
drawbacks
differential?
with welded? It gets some serious wheel hop when you if you cut a tight turn. The inside wheel will just be rotating and just skipping along the ground. Track
performance improved, parking lot performance degraded. Okay, so that's the drawback in case you're wondering. He had a welding shop that had experience in off-road vehicles, weld this for him. I probably, if I ended up welding it myself, I would have under-welded it considerably. However, he had someone with experience welded up to keep it locked up. Now you're running R-Spec tires, big as you can get with
G-Force Rivals. I forgot exactly which ones, but these are you got 2 options for a street tire on a Miata. You got a 225 size tire, which I think looks perfect. And you got 245 size tire, which just looks ridiculous. That's a bit
starts bulging off the car.
Bulging off the car real bad.
Okay.
But with these, it will hook if you're easy on it in first, second, no problem.
All right.
On a nice hot summer day.
All right. I think one of the things we didn't talk about before we started this video is, I know we're indoors. I think we can start it for just a minute.
Correct.
So we can hear it, and then make sure we follow up and close out any other discussions that will help people who are thinking about doing these type of endeavors.
I'll go through the keys.
Okay.
All right.
So Gleason's going to fire up the car. Before we fire it up, though, I'm going to talk about the exhaust. We currently have a G8 manifold.
Correct. And with the with those manifolds, you're limited to right at 400 horsepower.
So right now the stock engine is rated at 350.
350 from the factory.
Okay. The computer is a stock computer that's been
Stock
reflashed,
computer.
security's wiped off,
Correct.
and it came with the engine purchase, the pull-out engine from a wrecked, presumably a wrecked Corvette. Another thing before I did the hood, I fabricated these. They have a tooth mark in here that goes down into this lever where you can
Use the factory hood pop.
Yeah, so I like keeping the sleeper to the max extent possible.
Not
with
necessarily sleeper, but a factory feel. Like
a factory
this is how
feel.
it should have came from.
That's right. That's right. So we also have a dead man hook right there in case it does get popped. It has something to hold on to. And Glee, a couple other thoughts. Do you have any perspectives real quick on how the car handles in this configuration versus the purist type mindset?
Purist type mindset. Get that out of here. This with a big sway bar up front, proper suspension setup, and proper tire. You don't even notice it's there, minus the sudden urgency to get somewhere.
How much heavier is this car?
This car is only about 150 pounds heavier than your stock Miata. Factory weight distribution is about 52 in the front, 48. I weighed it on the scales. If I remember correctly, it's about 57.43 now. So
Okay.
It's not terrible.
All right. And then you had to get a heavier sway bars, anti-roll
I
bars
got a big sway bar up front.
to crouch it in the turns.
To crouch in the turns. I got BC Racing suspension, forgot which one. Fully adjustable coilovers.
Okay, so heavier springs, heavier roll bar. The
Big
car's
much-
150 pounds heavier.
Much better dampening. So overall, the car weighs 2460 fully fueled. Makes about 300 change horsepower.
So versus 110 horsepower stock Miata, or even a turbocharged Miata at 150, 200 horsepower max, then you start losing transmissions and rear ends.
Correct.
This is a whole different machine.
This is a drivetrain straight out of a Camaro, basically, more or less.
Okay, awesome. All right, so hey, let's fire it up and listen to it for a second. We in neutral? So we are up in the Northwest right now. It is winter. The roads are wet. It is cold. These are our spec tires. Not a whole lot to show you right now this time of year because of the weather. So we were refraining from driving it. I'm up here visiting, and again, got to be a part of this project. He was a designer. I was the executor and the builder. And so it's been an amazing process. 5 engines, 7 years later, we're sitting here on an LS swap Miata. I think we got more lessons learned in physics and mechanics than we ever thought possible. So,
as far as performance-wise, it handles as good as a Miata with big tires and good suspension is, and it is about as quick as your 5.0 Mustang GT or whatever Shaker, Hellcat,
whatever stock cars out there, this was right up there with them on the quickness. And again,
right there in the $60,000, $70,000 car range, power to weight ratio wise.
Right. So I want to share that with you. Again, this is A4G production. I'm in the middle of the glass air build. I appreciate everyone who leaves comments on my glass air builds and offers advice. I'll be reaching out to you as I move this build forward. So nice break. Thank you for sharing this car with us. And A4G signing out. Thank you.